Hey folks, Mike Johnson here. If it's got wheels and an engine, you're in the right place. On this channel, we dive into car repairs, maintenance tips, and everything you need to keep your ride running smooth. If you're into cars and want to keep learning, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. All right, enough talking. Let's get into it.
Ignition coils are essential components which play a crucial role in your engine's operation. For combustion to occur, the engine must create a spark that ignites the fuel-air mixture in the combustion chamber. The function of these coils is to supply the spark plugs with the high-voltage electricity required for ignition. A potential malfunction in the ignition coil circuit may cause your vehicle's computer to register fault code P0353. Here's a brief overview to help you understand the meaning of this code, its common causes and symptoms, and how to resolve it. What does P0353 mean? Ignition coils supply the spark plugs with the high-voltage electricity required for ignition. Diagnostic Trouble Code, DDC, P0353 indicates a problem with ignition coil C primary to secondary circuit. Most modern engines are equipped with a COP, coil on plug, ignition system. In this type of system, each engine cylinder is equipped with a dedicated coil located above the spark plug. When the PCM, powertrain control module, determines the need to light the spark plugs, it grounds the ignition coil circuit to activate it. Code P0353 indicates an electrical problem concerning ignition coil C, corresponding to the coil located on cylinder No. 3, or its circuit. This code can be triggered by a malfunction detected on either the primary, computer side, or secondary, spark plug side, of the circuit. In order to initiate ignition of the air-fuel mixture in the combustion chamber, the ignition coils must transfer sufficient energy to enable the spark plugs to ignite. These coils draw current from the battery, increasing its voltage and supplying high-voltage electricity to the spark plugs. If the ignition coils don't work reliably, vehicle performance will be affected. What are the possible causes of code P0353? Possible causes of code P0353, ignition coil primary to secondary circuit C, include faulty ignition coils, or one or more ignition coils on cylinder No. The third of may be faulty. This may include problems such as internal shorts, cracks or failures in the primary or secondary windings. Ignition coil control circuit problem, problems in the ignition coil control circuit C, including faulty electrical connections. Damaged wires or connection problems at the coil, may trigger code P0353. Faulty PCM or need for software update at the powertrain control module, PCM, may be faulty, or it may require a software update too. Correct communication problems with ignition coil C. In some cases, reprogramming of the PCM may be necessary to resolve the problem. What are the common symptoms of code P0353? Common symptoms associated with code P0353, ignition coil C primary to secondary circuit, include the following: check engine light illuminates. Illumination of the check engine light on the instrument panel is one of the first signs of a potential problem with the ignition system, including the AC ignition coil. Engine idles erratically. A faulty ignition coil circuit may cause the engine to idle erratically. The engine may seem hesitant or have difficulty maintaining a steady speed. Engine misfires, most noticeable during acceleration. Misfiring may occur, especially during acceleration. This can manifest itself as jerking, or a noticeable loss of power while driving. These symptoms are often the result of inadequate combustion in the cylinder associated with its C ignition coil. Misfiring can lead to reduced engine performance, increased fuel consumption and possibly damage to the vehicle's catalytic converter. If you observe any of these symptoms, we recommend that you have the problem diagnosed and repaired as soon as possible to avoid more serious consequences. If the ignition coils are not working reliably, vehicle performance will be reduced. How do I diagnose code P0353? Diagnosis of the P0353 code can be carried out by following these steps, although, as you've pointed out, it's advisable to consult a professional if you don't feel comfortable with these procedures or if you don't have the necessary tools. Reading the DDC, use an OBDI scanner to read the P0353 code and any other codes. This gives you a starting point for understanding the problem. Visual inspection. Visually inspect the wiring of the ignition coil C circuit, looking for damaged wires, loose connections, or defective components. Check electrical connections. Ensure that all electrical connections to the ignition coil C are secure. Connection problems may cause code P0353. Resistance and continuity test. Use a multimeter to test the resistance and continuity of the wires in the ignition coil circuit. Non-standard values may indicate problems. Ignition coil test. Use a multimeter to test the resistance and continuity of the primary and secondary windings of ignition coil C. A professional can also perform a more advanced test using specific tools. Checking other components. Check related components, such as the PCM, powertrain control module, to make sure they're working properly. Looking for mechanical problems. Although less frequent, mechanical problems such as coolant leaks from the spark plug or other anomalies can also cause this code. Check the engine for mechanical problems. If you are unfamiliar with these procedures or do not have the necessary tools, it is strongly recommended that you consult an automotive professional. They have the experience and equipment needed to effectively diagnose and resolve the problem associated with code P0353. How to repair the P0353 code. Repairing the P0353 code can vary depending on the specific underlying cause of the problem, but here are some general steps you could follow if you feel comfortable doing advanced automotive repairs. Replace ignition coil C. If testing reveals that the ignition coil associated with cylinder number 3 is defective, replace it with a new one. Checking and replacing wires and connections. If damaged wires or loose connections are detected, repair or replace as necessary. Testing the PCM. If all other components are in good working order, but the problem persists, the PCM may be to blame. A professional can perform more advanced tests to determine whether the PCM needs to be repaired or replaced. Software update. In some cases, a software update of the PCM may be necessary. Consult the vehicle manufacturer's online subscription service or an automotive professional for this update. Road test. After any repair, carry out a road test to make sure the problem has been solved. If the check engine light does not come on again, and engine performance is normal, the repair has probably been successful. If you're unsure of your automotive repair skills, it's strongly recommended that you consult a professional. They have the experience and tools needed to accurately diagnose the problem and carry out the repairs appropriately. In addition, bear in mind that specific repairs may vary according to vehicle make and model. Manufacturer-specific repair manuals can provide detailed information on the diagnostic and repair procedure for your particular vehicle. Associated codes. Codes associated with P0353, which refers specifically to the ignition coil C circuit, may include other codes related to the ignition system and PCM, powertrain control module. Here are some possible associated codes. The P0350, ignition coil circuit A, indicates a similar problem with the ignition coil associated with cylinder A. P0351, ignition coil 1A circuit, refers to a specific problem with the first ignition coil of cylinder A. P0352, ignition coil B circuit, indicates a problem with the ignition coil associated with cylinder B. P0354, ignition coil I circuit, refers to a problem with the ignition coil associated with cylinder I. P0355, F ignition coil circuit, indicates a problem with the ignition coil associated with cylinder F. You can perform resistance and continuity tests on the C ignition coil wires, test the ignition coil itself, visually inspect the connections and wires, and use an OBDII scanner to read the codes.